came off right off the bat when you grabbed us with your introduction. You said, Mike Price, 1927 to 2011, and instantly I was drawn in. I wanted to know who he was and what this person was all about. You talked about, you gave us some information about his background, and you talked about him as a child, and this is what I think you did. The first thing that I really noticed was exceptional. You used your hand gestures in such a planned way. You talked about him as a little boy. You talked about handing something, and you did this. And I noticed that continued throughout your entire speech. Just very planned gestures. Another thing I noticed is you made great eye contact across the room. I saw you connecting with multiple people. One thing about that, though, is I noticed that you weren't making as much eye contact with this side of the room. And I think that was because of how far up you were standing. So I would recommend maybe if you stood a little further back, you would have a better opportunity to make eye contact throughout the room. Another recommendation I have is you made a comment in this speech about how he gave you permission to share this. And that was the first time, it was probably about 45 seconds, and that was the first time I realized that you had a relationship with him. And then at the end, you built on that a little bit. That was a good thing for me to establish credibility, and I would have liked to see you establish that credibility a little bit earlier. I loved the way that you talked about Mike Price, and then you connected it to a lesson that we could all relate to. For me, I think we all have things that we can't let go of, and it was just a really good way to connect that. And I also think that people have a hard time hearing that they have to let go of something, so it was just a really good way to bring it to light by telling it through a story. To conclude, I'd like to say you had a wonderful introduction. You kept us engaged with your hand gestures and your eye contact, and you wrapped it up with a good lesson that we could all relate to, and I really enjoyed your speech.